Hello everyone. Welcome to this video. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Brenda. I'm an artist and a certified Zentangle teacher. Today's video is a Mindful Monday video. And Mindful Monday videos are videos where I take you through all 8 steps of the magical Zentangle method of drawing. I think it's magical because for me, it is relaxing. It has increased my creativity. It has made me more confident. And those are just a few of the many things that I have benefited from by practicing the Zentangle method. Today's tile is going to be a fun little tile. We are going to focus on the tangle and zeppel. This is a tangle that some people tell me they find difficult, and I think it's a lot of fun. It can be drawn lots of different ways. Today I'm just going to draw a string when we get to step 4, and we're going to find out what it looks like, and then we'll decide how we are going to incorporate the tangle and zeppel into our tile today. So let's go ahead and begin our 8 steps with step 1, gratitude and appreciation. In this step, I am going to talk you through a breathing exercise that hopefully will get you settled into this moment, get you comfortable and ready to draw along. So go ahead and find a comfortable spot and settle in. Whether you're sitting or standing, it doesn't matter. If you're okay closing your eyes, go ahead and do that. And then take a couple of deep breaths, breathing in and breathing out. And again, breathing in, and try to get tall and alert on the inhale. And breathing out, and just relax everything down. One final big breath in and out. Then just settle into a natural breathing rhythm and pay attention to the breath. Breathing in and out. Now I want you to stop and think about something that you are grateful for in this moment. It doesn't have to be grand. It could be as simple as being able to see a hummingbird on a hummingbird feeder. That's what I'm grateful for in this moment. And focus on that once you have it, and really feel into that gratitude. How does gratitude feel? And keep breathing. I want you to remember this feeling of gratitude. And as we draw our tile today, if you find yourself at a point where you just need a break, perhaps your lines are going all rogue on you, they're not going where you want them to, just stop yourself, take a deep breath in and out. And then just pick up your pen and you're ready to go back to drawing. And let's end with one more big breath in And that is all there is to step 1, gratitude and appreciation. I hope you all feel a little better. I know I do. Now, before we move on to step 2, let's just talk a moment about what I'm going to use to create this tile today. And we are going to start by reminding you, that's why Bijou's here. Bijou is our little Zentangle mascot. That's how I think of Bijou. And he's here to remind us to enjoy this time today. So let's go ahead and set that aside. Now I'm going to be drawing with a Micron PN pen, but you can use any pen. If you like a finer tip, a finer line, you can use a Micron 01 or even an 03. But I'm going to use a PN pen today. PN stands for plastic nib, and I have a pretty heavy hand, so I break a lot of fine nibs. I like the PN pen. I'm also going to be using a Zentangle pencil, but you can use any pencil, and a tortillon to blend out the graphite. This is what we're going to use when we get to our shading. Now, I'll be drawing today on a Zentangle 3.5-inch square tile, and it is white. Now this tile is really made of a beautiful watercolor paper, and I just love these tiles, and they do take watercolor well, but that's not what we're doing today. Okay, so let's move on to step 2. Step 2 we are going to use our pencil for, and step 2 is corner dots. So we're simply going to put a dot in each of the 4 corners of our tile. Step 3 is a border. We create a border by drawing a line to connect each of the dots in the corner. Now step 4 is a string, and a string is intended simply to break up the space on the tile and give us places to put our tangles or our patterns. So I'm going to draw a loop. I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm going to come in and do a loop and come across. And I've got a little space here. I've got a rounded space there. And then I've got this space that goes around my center section. And that's all I'm going to do for my string. So I'm done with my pencil for the moment, setting that aside. And now I'm picking up my PN pen. Now, I said we were going to focus on the tangle and zeppel, and that's what we're going to do. And what I want to do is to draw and zeppel in this space around my circle. So I'm going to begin with that, and I'm not going to make this a formal in zeppel, which is really a grid pattern. This is going to be what we call crazy in zeppel variation of the tangle. And in this variation, we simply draw lines. Now I'm drawing my line just to the circle. I'm not going outside of that. And I'm also staying inside of my border. Now, these lines do not have to be symmetrical. In fact, they're a little more interesting if they're not, as I just continue to make mine more and more symmetrical. I do like to turn my tile. It gives me a little different view, different perspective from the different directions. So this side looks a little more wonky. I don't want these spaces too small. So I think, well, let's put one more here. See, that's one of the nice things about the crazy in zeppel is you just get to decide where to put your lines. Okay, so I think I'm done now. Now, step 2 in this crazy in zeppel is to simply, we're going to put spaces inside the spaces. So each one of these has a square or angular corner to it. And what we're going to do is round out the corners for what we put in each of these spaces. I like to start in a corner. And what I do is kind of go up to the corner and then round it and then go right over top of the line. I rounded it again at that corner. And I'm going to round it here. And I'm going to come down here, round it there. And there is my shape. And I'm going to put this same shape in each one of these spaces. Obviously, they will look different because each one of these spaces is a little different. It might be easier to turn your tile as you go around the space, and that's perfectly okay. So you can already see how these shapes I'm drawing are thicker than the lines, the grid lines we drew down, because I'm drawing over the lines, making it thicker every time I do that. It almost makes these shapes look like little balloons that we've squished inside there, and they're bulging at the seam. It's kind of fun. The trick is to be very deliberate with your strokes and to take your time. There's no race, there's no rush. And I kind of went over the line there, but you know what? I'm going to take care of that when I do the one next to it. And when we do our shading, that will all just kind of fade away anyhow, so no worries. And no mistakes. Okay, I think I'm done drawing my ensemble. That's all you have to do. It's that simple. Now, in the center here, I am going to draw. Actually, I'm going to start by drawing an aura around this inside space. So I guess I can start here. And I am kind of auraing each individual shape. Almost connecting to the grid line. Sometimes I think I am. That's okay. Okay. And since we aura around the inside space, let's go ahead and aura around the top as well. So I'm going to ignore my border here and go ahead and aura that. But I think I'm going to leave the sides for now. Okay, so we have our ensemble and we've auraed around the inside space and the top of ensemble. So my next tangle is going to be, let's go ahead and do, you see, this is unplanned. I know I should be a little more organized. I'm going to keep it simple. Let's just do printemps. And I'm going to start with a few in the center, and I'm going to make these kind of big. And I will draw behind. As I come to another printemps, or as I come to the border, or the aura line, I should say. Okay, I'm going to leave that. I think that's good. I've got some spaces in between, but that's okay. I might fill those in, but I might leave them open. We'll see today. And then finally, I need to decide if I want to do something up here. And I think I am going to go ahead and do one of my little favorite tangles, super easy and fun, and that is Tagh, T-A-G-H. I think that's how you spell it. I guess I'll draw it this direction. It is going to make a little border around the aura up here. That's what I'm going to use it for. Now, it's a scallop shape. So I'm going to start, oops, no mistakes. And I'm just going to draw these scallops that sit next to each other all the way. And they're all different sizes. That's okay. Okay, so there's my row of talk. And the next step in this tangle is to add some contrast or some drama, I guess, inside the center. So what you're doing to make this shape, or at least what I'm doing, is I try and aura the scallop. And that aura then creates the center piece, the center dark black, almost like a crescent moon shape, if you're familiar with that tangle. Okay. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and aura around these also. Maria Thomas, one of the founders of Zentangle, is fond of saying, "When in doubt, aura." So that's what I'm doing today. Okay, I think I'm good. I've got my 3 tangles. I don't know if there's an up or a down, so I'm going to put my pen away. We are moving on to step 6. We just finished step 5, which was the tangles. And we're moving on to step 6, which is the shading. And I'm back with my Zentangle pencil. And I'm going to begin in the center where the printom is. And I am going to put a line of graphite next to the aura line around my ensemble. I'm going to go all the way around the center. Now I'm using kind of the side of the tip of my pencil, and I'm making small circular motions to put the graphite on the paper. And I'm trying to be careful I don't get it on the aura, because we want it to look like it's inside. Okay, so there's my first pass with my graphite. Now I'm going to grab my tortillon and I'm going to blend that out and inward towards the center. And I'm just going to kind of go around again. I'm using kind of the side of the tip of my tortillon. And I am just kind of with circular motions pulling that graphite inward. At the moment, I'm not pulling it in too far into the center. I'm keeping it kind of close. I mean, it's all relative, and how much graphite you have on your tile to start with is one of the factors as to how dark it will be or how far you can blend it. This is pretty dark. I laid down quite a bit on that first pass, but that's because I want to get a look like this is down underneath this ensemble. Now I'm just kind of blending around, softening that edge a little bit. Now I'm going to get my pencil back out, and I am just going to add a little bit of graphite inside here to add some more contrast. Trying not to do too much. I guess I'll leave it at that for now. And I'm just going to lightly go around the outside edge of this big one in the center so it's not completely white. And I think we're done shading that print on in the center. So now I am going to shade my enzeppel. There's lots of ways that you can shade enzeppel, but today I am going to make these look, I don't know, let's call them like like little balloons bulging out. So I am going to go into what I see as the lower right corner, and I know I'm using that loosely because these are not square, but it will still help to give me what I want. And I'm using the side of my pencil, and I'm staying away from the smaller ones. I didn't put anything up there. I'll have plenty on my tortillon when I start blending, and I don't want to overdo it to start with. So these are just like little smiles in that lower right corner of each one of these shapes. Okay, that's plenty of graphite. Now I'm going to get my tortillon, and because I'm going to blend it away, if you will, from the edge, I'm going to blend from the bottom or from this direction. So I am going to start by just blending out around that graphite smile, just blending out the smile so it doesn't look like a line. It just looks like dimension, shadow. And this is one I didn't add to because I knew I'd have plenty. And I'm not blending this too far out either because I really want a nice white space in each one of these. So if you kind of pay attention here, what I'm doing is I start on where I put the graphite and then I blend it to the edge. I try not to go too much farther in. Just kind of get that corner. I'm turning my tortillon a little bit as I blend this out too, to helps keep it a little bit cleaner, or at least it's a little more evenly spread onto the tortillon this way. So there's really no rhyme or reason here, you know, if you're looking for a definitive way to do this. I'm just, like I said, I drew these little smiles and I'm just blending out around the shape of that smile, keeping it closer to the edge, you know, leaving me a nice white section in each one of these shapes. And I think that's what's really adding to the dimension of it. And these little ones, I just added a little bit. There, that looks pretty good. Okay, one last tangle to shade, and that is talk. And we're going to shade this by adding the graphite next to the aura of enzeppel, but keeping it as best I can away from the black. Black with graphite on top of it will be lighter, not darker. And what we're trying to do is add some contrast and we do that by adding a dark next to a light, or this pencil graphite next to a white section. So there's the aura. We want to keep that white as we blend out this graphite. And again, we're trying to keep it off of the black. Pulling it away from the edge. Turning my tile just to keep my wrist a little bit more relaxed. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Now, before I move on to the next step, which is step 7, I want to pick my pen up again, and I'm going to darken some of these lines that is going to add to the contrast here. So I'm going to start up here with this aura line, and because I'm drawing on top of something, I want to be very slow and deliberate so that I can be careful not to go away from the line. But you can start to see already that it is helping add even more dimension or depth between these two tangles. There. That's pretty good. And again, I'm going to do that around this aura on the inside of the enzeppel, around our printom. And that is going to do the same thing, add a little bit more depth. Make these printom look a little farther away. Okay. And that's all the love I'm going to add. And there we have our tile for today. Now, you can take a look at your tile when you're finished, this shading, and kind of turn it all 4 directions. See if it looks better to you, one direction over another. These are abstract, so there is no top or bottom. But I'm kind of liking this view here, so I'm going to leave it here. And step 7 is to initial and sign our tile. So I'm going to go ahead and initial on the front, and I'm going to use my chop. And I think I'm going to do something different and set it on top of this little pencil line I had from my string. So I am going to draw my chop, which is a stylized version of my initials, B and C. And then I like to add a few perfs underneath, just little dots. So I have my initial on the front. Now I am going to turn it over, and I'm going to date it on the back, but I always do that off camera. I am going to sign it. And I do encourage you to date your pieces because it's really nice to see your progress. Okay, now I'm also going to add the names of our tangles. So we started with enzeppel. And then we did printom. And then we did tuck. And I drew this for my Mindful Monday 72. So you can put any notes you want on the back. I like the tiles And I like that Zentangle has given me a little bit of a space, a couple of lines to work with. But you can always use the back of your tile for notes or even practice if you're learning a tangle for the first time. So that is step 7. Now step 8 is simply to sit back and admire what you've done and appreciate again. We started with appreciation and we end with appreciation. And hopefully you are grateful for the time that you spent working on your little art piece. I am grateful if you are watching. If you are still here, I'm super grateful. And I want to thank you for watching. And I want to remind you, as always, to be you and be happy.